Sometimes the worst betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from the people who raised you, people who were supposed to protect you. My name is Alina, and 10 years ago, my father threw me out of the house. I was 21 years old, 6 months pregnant, and I had nowhere to go. He didn't shout, he didn't argue, he just slid a document across the table. "Sign this," he said calmly. "Consider it the late fee for 21 years of freeloading." The paper was a legal waiver. If I signed it, I would give up the only thing I had left, my grandmother's antique jewelry collection, the last piece of my inheritance. But my father didn't want it for sentimental reasons. He wanted to sell it, to cover his gambling debts. He didn't even look up while he spoke. "Once you sign, get out, and take that bastard child with you." For a moment, the room went completely silent. I remember staring at the pen on the table. It was expensive, gold trimmed, probably worth more than everything I owned at that moment. I didn't beg, I didn't argue, I just picked up the pen and I signed my name. So hard, the tip tore through the paper. Then I stood up. I left my coat on the chair because he had paid for it, and I walked out of that house forever. That night, there was a blizzard outside. The snow was falling so hard I could barely see the road. I sat in my old sedan in a grocery store parking lot. The heater smelled like burnt dust. My hands were shaking. I had exactly $500 in my pocket. That was all the money I had in the world, and I was pregnant. But that night, something else happened. Something inside me changed. I stopped seeing my family as people who loved me. I started seeing them for what they really were, liabilities. You see, growing up in the Hall family was never about love. Everything was a transaction. My father, Marcus, called it teaching responsibility, but what he was really teaching me was how to clean up his messes. By the time I was 16, I was balancing his financial ledgers. While other girls were picking out prom dresses, I was calculating how much money he had lost at the racetrack. Marcus liked to call himself a businessman, but he wasn't. He was a gambler in an expensive suit. He would lose $10,000 on a Tuesday, then scream at me on Wednesday because the electric bill was too high. I became the family accountant, the fixer, the one who cleaned up the lies. And then there was Parker, my boyfriend, or at least the man I thought loved me. We dated for 2 years. When he got into $5,000 of credit card debt, I sold my first car to help him, a beat-up Honda I had worked 3 summers to buy. For 6 months, I walked to work so his credit score wouldn't be ruined. And do you know what happens when I told him I was pregnant? He disappeared, changed his number, vanished, just like that. That's when I learned something important. Leeches don't change. They just find new hosts. But the moment that truly broke me wasn't the money. It was my college graduation. I graduated with a 4.0 GPA, valedictorian. I had worked 2 waitressing jobs to pay my tuition because my father said his money was tied up in investments. When I walked across the stage, I looked into the crowd, searching for my family. Every other student had family cheering, holding flowers, taking pictures, but my section was empty. Later, I found out why. My father had gone to an art auction. He spent the afternoon bidding on a painting that later turned out to be fake. He missed the proudest moment of my life to buy a counterfeit. That was the moment I realized something. I wasn't a daughter to them. I was an asset. And when that asset stopped being profitable, they wrote me off as a loss. But the funny thing is, they didn't destroy me. They trained me. They taught me how to spot lies, how to find hidden assets, how to read financial documents. They thought they were throwing away garbage. What they were really doing was creating something bulletproof. I started over with $500 and a pawn shop receipt. That was the price I got for the ring my mother slipped into my pocket before I left. I didn't cry when I sold it. I just looked at the money and thought, this is the last thing they will ever give me. 10 years passed. I didn't go into fashion or marketing. I went into the ugliest business in America, distressed debt. Today, I am the CEO of Phoenix Holdings, a private equity firm that buys failing loans, bad mortgages, toxic assets. Because in America, you don't need a weapon to destroy someone. You just need to own their debt. And one day, while reviewing a bundle of foreclosure properties, I saw an address I recognized, 142 Oak Creek Lane, my childhood home. Marcus Hall was 6 months behind on his mortgage. The balance? $1.8 million. That's when I smiled, because in that moment, I realized something. My father had spent his entire life gambling, but this time, he had made the worst bet of all. He bet against me. So I bought the debt, not because it was profitable, but because it was personal. And a few weeks later, my father walked into a conference room in Manhattan, thinking he was about to save his house. He had no idea he was about to sign it over to me.